Hello and welcome back to the Omaha Podcast, where Omaha's most successful entrepreneurs help your business grow. I'm your host, Matt Tompkins of Two Brothers Creative, and on today's episode, we're going to learn how to get those big, hairy, audacious goals done. Yeah, we're going to be joined by Omaha Mayor Jean Stothert, who, whether you love her or not, has gotten a lot of big projects done for the city of Omaha. Today, we actually go on the road to the newly developed Jean Leahy Mall to find out exactly how leaders get shit done. We are down here live on location at Jean Leahy Mall, the newly renovated Jean Leahy Mall. And we're here because, not just because it turned out amazing, it's beautiful, but we want to learn how a massive undertaking like this actually happened, how it came to be. And probably at the top of that list is a good leadership. And so joining us is the leader of our entire city, as well as the Jean Leahy project here, Mayor Jean Stothert. Thanks for being with us here on location.
Well, thanks for having me. It's been a while.
I've been trying to get a date with you in the park for I don't know how many years.
Okay.
And, you know, I learned I have to go through your office and make it an official request.
Lots of people want dates with me. You know how that is.
Well, not anymore. Yeah, I mean, yeah, you're... Congratulations. You're married.
I am, and he's pretty awesome. So you'll have to meet him. Yeah.
Well, I mean,
and he's been to Omaha. He still lives on the East Coast. Mm-hmm. We're working on selling his house so he can move here, but he loves Omaha. Mm-hmm. Originally from St. Louis, like I am, and but every time he comes here, he loves it, and so he can't wait to move here. So I'm glad.
It's a great city for a long list of reasons, and you know, this podcast is all about the local business community and helping entrepreneurs thrive, find success. And that's one thing I've really loved in working with Joe and Chris on this podcast is there's so many just incredible stories.
Yes.
From people who just it starts with like a great idea. You know, it starts with just one idea from one person, and then it turns into this manifestation as you see here at the park that is just incredible. And so, I mean, take us back to the very beginning of the Jean Leahy Mall project.
Right.
And I mean, it started with that inception, right? And what did the leadership look like to get this ball moving on your end?
Right. You mean this renovation here? Because boy, I could go back to the 1960s and the 1970s talking about downtown. Yeah. And, you know, I'll just mention it for a few minutes because it is important because I'll go back to 1960. We had right under 50,000 jobs downtown Omaha in 1960. And guess what happened? Crossroads opened. So here's a great big shopping center 5 miles west of here. And literally, people moved out of downtown. The businesses moved out, the residents moved out, the restaurants moved out, and downtown Omaha started to die. Mm-hmm. And then it was in the 70s is when the leadership at that time, the mayor, the business community, it was a downtown Rotary, they got together and they thought, we have got to revitalize downtown. We got to get people and jobs back downtown, and we need to connect downtown with our most important geographic feature, which is the Mississippi River. So here comes the original, it was called Central Park Plaza, but the original Jean Leahy Mall. It was built in the 70s, in the mid-70s. There was a grant from HUD, and the business community got together, business and philanthropic community, and here the Jean Leahy Mall was built. And after that, there was about 30 buildings that were rehabbed and redeveloped. There was new buildings. People moved back down to downtown. So what we are seeing is kind of a repeat of that. You know, history repeats itself. And when I ran for mayor the first time in 2012 and 2013, I made it my goal that we were going to do something on Lewis and Clark Landing. You know, there were several failed restaurants down there that would bring people down to the landing all the time. And we started talking about that right after I was elected in 2014. I was elected in 2013. We started talking about it and started talking about what could we do in the downtown area like that happened, you know, in the 70s. And that's how it really all started. So like every big project in Omaha, I try to really engage the stakeholders, the business community, and the philanthropic community. And that's kind of how it started.
And that's one aspect that I know myself and a lot of people appreciate about this renovation is that it is very inclusive to local businesses and the local business community here.
Right.
So, you know, you mentioned like some of the past mayors. What are some of the skills? Because this is commitment, and it's a 8-9 year, relentless pursuit to get this to come to fruition.
It was a huge undertaking.
So
huge.
you mentioned some of the past mayors and how history repeats itself. What are some of the skill sets that you look to or modeled your own leadership after with a big project like this?
Well, I looked at what we had accomplished within the city of Omaha and in the urban core, and I looked at our convention center, Arena Convention Center. I looked at the ballpark, what happened there. The Bob Carey Bridge, what happened there.
The overpass,
the Holland Performing Arts Center. The Orpheum Theater, which people don't realize we own, but it's run by Omaha Performing Arts. And I looked at all of these great things that had happened within the past couple decades or decade downtown. And how did it happen? It happened when you engaged your stakeholders, your business community, and your philanthropic community with city government. You try to be as transparent as you possibly can, and you seek input. And that's exactly what I did. That's how they got that. All those things done. When you talk about the Arena Convention Center, there was about $75 million in private dollars in there. You talk about the ballpark, there was about $25 million of private dollars. When I used to meet with mayors all the time, the pandemic started that. When they ask how we get these things done in Omaha, and I talk about philanthropy here and private money, they've never seen anything like it in Omaha. So to me, that was important to follow what these other mayors did to get things done and to work with the private community too. So when this project started down here, and my goal at the beginning was just the Lewis and Clark Landing, and we started getting people engaged. One of the first things I did is we brought a company into Omaha called ULI, Urban Land Institute. And we worked with them, and they engaged everybody they could think of. They had stakeholders, they had business community, they had citizens, and they really asked them what they wanted to see down here, what we needed it. And that's how it really grew into, let's not just do Lewis and Clark Landing, but let's include Heartland of America Park, let's include the Jean Leahy Mall, and let's repeat what happened back in the 70s and really revitalize downtown. And we are really, somebody said something to me the other day, which I loved, and they said, you know what, you all are really rebuilding downtown Omaha. And it really is. It's going to look totally different than it had before. And we see that revitalization as being so positive for the entire city.
Oh yeah, I mean it's growth. You see growth moving out west with Omaha, but I think revitalizing certain parts of Benson is another area of Omaha and Midtown and seeing downtown kind of get this facelift. We titled this episode "How to Get Shit Done" because that's really
kind of like that.
I don't know if you could say that at a press conference, but that's really what it boils down to.
I'll say how to get stuff done.
Stuff done. Yeah. Okay. How to get stuff done. Sure, but. What I'm hearing you say is that, you have to be tough and persistent, but listening is perhaps the most underrated quality as any leader, whether that's a city and a big project like this or just of your own company or an organization.
To be criticized. I mean, I watched that. I looked at that and I read about the history when the convention center was built, when the ballpark, remember that? The big push to keep the old ballpark in place and don't build a new ballpark. But I think, you've got to have a vision, and that vision, you get those stakeholders together, you get input, but you've got to be a leader too and say this, after listening to all this and all these studies, this is what we need.
You have to make a decision.
And you got to make a decision. I'm still being criticized for this beautiful park.
I don't know. I've never criticized you for anything.
Well, I
ever.
wouldn't think you
We've
would.
We've never disagreed about anything.
Right.
But that's one thing I do admire about you and other, leaders, whether it be in politics and government or with, organizations and businesses, is that you do listen, and you can. I mean, we did a TV show where we did comedy bits just out front making fun of you.
I know it.
And you were a great sport. You said, you know what, I want to be in the next one.
I know it. I thought it was hilarious.
That's a rare quality today. I think a lot of people, we tend to have thin skin with social media, and we get we let our emotions taken over in a bad way and not in a healthy way. And so being able to kind of roll with the punches, as they say, I think is something that is a strength for you.
And people expect their leaders to make decisions. There's a problem, I think, that every newly elected leader has, and they will always think, well, if I sit on the fence, then everybody will like me. And the opposite happens. You sit on the fence, nobody likes you.
Yeah.
They want you to be a leader, and and I always make decisions the same way. You gather data, you talk to people, you get as much information as you can, and then you make an educated decision, you explain it, and you stick with it. And you take your knocks from those who don't agree with you.
Let us in on maybe not all the secrets, but what is a secret, maybe one of the top 3 secrets, if I'm a business owner, I'm a local a business here in Omaha, and I want to be involved. I want to be involved in a project like this. I want to work with the city. I want to work with the state. What would you suggest? Like, where do you start? How do you begin that? Is it more relationship building and networking, or?
I think it's all of the above. We work really, really closely with the Greater Omaha Chamber of Commerce. They do economic development for us. I don't have an economic development, a department within the city of Omaha. So we pay the chamber to do that. But to stay, and with the chamber has thousands of businesses that belong to the Omaha Chamber. So we work very closely with the chamber. Another thing that I did that other mayors did not do, which I think is very important, is I hired not 1, but 2 new deputy chiefs of staff for economic development. And their job is to work directly with the chamber and be out in the community and work with those businesses. Because what I heard when I became mayor, I hate doing business with the city of Omaha. Everything takes a long time. I want to do this project. It takes forever to get through planning and public works and law. The 2 men that I had, and I'm replacing them now because they moved on to other things, they did a great job. But their job was to work with every single project that we have. Every single project, they were assigned to one or the other of those economic developers. They worked in my office, reported to me, but their job was to get things done. And sometimes they had to say no, but I always told them, if you have to say no for a good reason, then you come back and help them figure out how still to get it done.
So you mean there are people who complain about the government not getting things done?
Oh, yeah. There's my secret. Yeah. Yes, they do complain.
Well, what I'm hearing, though, is you're saying that building a leadership team, trusting that team, and then delegating to that team.
Right.
Business owners, and I'm guilty of this too, we make this mistake or assumption that we have to be involved in every single aspect of everything. Only we can do it a certain way, and we don't, trust other people, other partners, and people we hire or put in positions like that. So it sounds like that's not just for the city, but for a lesson to be learned for any business owner.
I think so. And I think if you ask any one of my directors or any of the staff in my office, I like to know what's going on. I like to be informed, but I'm not a micromanager. I don't know how to run a police department or a planning department or a public works department. So I hire the best directors I can, and I trust them. I always tell them, let me know. I don't want to hear anything on the TV. I don't want to hear it on the news first. You let me know, but I'm going to let you run your department, and we work together. And I think that's what the golden rule is for my administration.
I could see you with a police hat and a
the
battalion, is that what
a ballistic vest on and out there.
Bulletproof vest.
See, and that's something I don't do. But I'll tell you, like if you use the police as an example, I probably talk to the chief of police multiple times every day. I mean, he's usually the first person I talk to every morning, lets me know what happened during the night. So they keep me really informed. I know what's going on, and I make decisions with them, but I give them a lot of autonomy, too.
Usually with me, if the police are the first people I talk to in the morning,
there's a problem.
It's been a problem. It's been a fun night, but not a
good
end result with that. So you've seen a lot of businesses come and go. Yeah. You've seen them succeed. Let's talk about what are some of the things you've seen that have tripped up businesses that maybe have caused failures that businesses didn't recover from? What are some of those missteps you've seen that, other business owners can hopefully avoid?
Yeah, the pandemic was once in a lifetime, hopefully, but that was really something that was a huge challenge to me. People used to ask me all the time, what keeps you awake at night? And I would say, nothing. I'm always so tired when I get home. I fall asleep eating dinner. But that was really scary. And that really played havoc on a lot of our businesses, especially restaurants in the entertainment business. A lot of restaurants failed. A lot of bars failed. We had a huge loss of revenue with the College World Series, with Berkshire Hathaway, with the swim trials being canceled. And I'm in charge of the budget. I don't just pass it and forget about it. I had to make sure that by the end of the year, that budget was balanced. And so, I made a lot of really difficult decisions. And that was a really hard part of that, probably the hardest part of my whole career as being mayor, shutting down swimming pools and libraries and community centers and canceling, camps and all of those things that we did because we didn't know how we were going to survive. But the businesses, they just kept on moving on. We tried to help the restaurants as much as we can. We received CARES Act money indirectly, but then ARPA funding. We tried to get all of that out into the community, and we still are, as fast as we possibly can to help individuals and businesses survive. For example, we've had over $100 million that we have received that's been out in the community for rent and utility assistance. And we're getting it out into the community because we want to help individuals and businesses. Huge hit that I mentioned before to our entertainment district. So we're helping the hotels, a huge help with the ARPA funds. And so there's different things that we had to do during the pandemic that was quite different. But businesses themselves, they want lower taxes. That's the one thing. They want to know about the cost of living for their employees. They want to know how safe a city is. If we want them downtown, they want downtown what is going to want to attract young professionals. So that is exactly what we listen to, and that's what we're doing. They want to live down here. They want walkability. They want safety. They want public spaces. They want public transportation. They want a safe city. All of those things that we hear in talking to businesses, we're trying to provide.
Have there been any failures you feel that you made along the way? Like things you're like, man, I wish I would have done this differently, but I learned a lot from that misstep or that.
Right.
I know I've got like a lifetime of failures. I'm still learning. I don't know if I've learned from them yet. But,
I honestly could say, I probably can think back of things I wish I would have said differently. But as far as something that I feel like we did as that was a failure that I could say, oh gosh, this was awful the way we did it or handled it. I honestly can't think of anything huge that stands out. I could think of a few things, like I said, I could have handled differently, but it really didn't have a whole lot to do with economic development and job growth.
Yeah.
I will tell you, I think, that the issue that we have, it's a fact, not an issue, that we have such a low unemployment rate right now in Omaha. Less than 2% is a double-edged sword, because that sounds great when you say we have, everybody has a job in Omaha that wants a job. But at the same time, if a business is looking to move here, they're going to think, where am I going to get employees? Everybody has a job. So it's kind of kind of a double-edged sword. So that low unemployment rate can be a little terrifying to a new business looking here, but we still try to offer what they're looking for. What I would say that we need more of are incentives, statewide incentives, citywide incentives that we can offer these businesses so that they'll want to come. Right now we have a TIF, or tax increment financing. But other than that, we don't have a lot of incentives that we can offer businesses to come here.
No, I'm not referring to politics as politics, but there is politics in everything, just in life. Life
Absolutely.
is politics. What do you suggest to business owners and entrepreneurs who deal with whatever their degree of politics is? They have to work with people they don't like and work with people they like. People who say that's a horrible idea or that's a great idea for a restaurant. No, that's it's a terrible place. What were you thinking? What would you suggest to entrepreneurs to work through that? To still make progress and make your dream a reality with what you're doing with your business, but not let that maybe derail your attention.
And I hope I set a good example for that, because if I hire people that know their business. And I've been very successful in hiring people, like I said, my directors and my staff, because I want to know what they know, and I want to hire them based on their ability, not what political party they belong to. I will tell you, I have 19 people that work in my office. I don't know half of their political party. It doesn't matter to me. And I could tell you there's a lot of Democrats that work in my office as well as Republicans. But Omaha is a Democrat city right now. There's more Democrat voters than Republicans. And my last election, I won by a pretty big margin. And so I hope people look at me as being nonpartisan, of not bringing the politics into everything. And
is that something you do? You're conscious of? even just with, somebody who, I mean, like we talked about having, a kind of a thick skin and a sense of humor, I think is important for any leadership position. But, is that something you walk into and you're like, okay, I'm not going to let maybe personal feelings or reactions get in the way of, I like Matt, I can't stand Matt, but that's a really good idea that he had and I'll hear him out. You know?
And I do that. I mean, I listen to people, I'll hear him out. It doesn't matter to me what direction they're going as far as politics. I mean, I'll be honest with you, I've been criticized saying I'm not Republican enough or I'm not far right enough. But, I think to be the mayor of Omaha and also to get things done, like obviously we are getting things done. And it's not just down here. If you look from the Missouri River to the Elkhorn River, there's things in big projects going, multi-$100 million projects everywhere. And we're doing that because I really feel like people they trust our leadership. They don't just give you that trust. You got to earn it. I'm in my 10th year now. I think that they see the job that me and my team has done and they trust us. And I think that that's all part of being successful. You got to say what you mean and mean what you say. And you got to, and I never want to be caught in saying something that's a lie. That's not true. If people ask me a question and I don't know the answer, I'm more than willing to say I don't know the answer, but I'll get the answer for you rather than to trip up and say something wrong.
So you've gone from literally, the gift shop to the mayor's office.
Well, there's a little more in it.
Well, I know, but I say that to preface this, and that is there are a lot of people, and I remember myself when I was working construction, framing houses, had this dream of, it'd be great to entertain people and do this and that. And, you sit there and for the person who's in that place right now, who's just starting out, who they have this dream, what would be your final words of wisdom to them to help them to get moving? What would your biggest piece of advice be?
Well, obviously know your stuff. That's really important, and do it and give everything you can to it. You're never going to win unless you try, and there is no embarrassment in running for a political office and losing. I lost one race in 2006, but look at all of our great leaders in the country. A lot of them have lost races in the past, but you got to remember, I started out as a head nurse in an intensive care unit. So I managed the intensive care unit. I did the budget. I did the hiring. I was on the school board for 11 years. That was a volunteer position, but I learned a lot about working with people and listening to all points of view. Then I ran for the legislature. I didn't win that one. That was a close race. It was a 14-vote loss. But I felt like this wasn't meant to be. And there was something else out there calling my name. So then I ran for city council, won that race. I never, when I ran for city council, had any ambition that I'm going to do council and run for mayor. That was not in the cards for me. But after being on city council and taking that job real seriously, I decided I did not like the way the mayor at that time was running the city. And I thought I had two choices. I could run for council again, probably have an easy race, run for mayor, and probably have the hardest race of my life. And that's what I decided to do.
So keep dreaming and never give up. I mean, when I was building houses, I never thought I would be sitting here, on this beautiful, pavilion stage at Jean Leahy Mall talking to the mayor of Omaha. So, and most of my teachers from high school to this day can't believe it either. They're like, what's going on in the world? But you have to stick with it. You have to have that perseverance.
Yes. And I've told people that loss I had taught me a lot. Taught me a lot about
myself.
That's what I
mean by learning about failures. You learn so much from those.
I learned more about that failure or losing that race than, I lost by 14 votes, but it doesn't make any difference if I lost by 14 or 14,000. When you run for a political office, you win or you lose. There's no second place. So if I lost by 14, I lost. I had to move on. That's all there was to it. But there's no shame in running and losing, and you learn a lot. And because when I ran for city council, I got my team together and I said, we are not going to lose by 14 votes. We're going to work every area of Omaha that we need to, every one in the District 5, which I ran for at first. And then we did that when I ran for mayor too. When I ran for mayor, I walked the city for a full year. I announced I was running in May. I started walking in June, and I walked till next May when the election was.
And you only tripped once.
Maybe I've tripped more than once.
Twice.
I know, maybe. Yeah, I walked in snow and ice, but that's how I felt that you're going to win a race, and we did. So,
well, we appreciate you greatly for coming on our inaugural episode of the Omaha podcast, which is all about Omaha. So having the Omaha mayor to be on the podcast is.
I could talk for another 30 minutes on Omaha. I mean, there's so much going on, even downtown, even beside this, like with ConAgra.
And the library, all these different. Yeah,
ConAgra is a $500 million. The Builders District, the Millworks District, those are $300 million each. The new Mutual of Omaha Tower that is going to be behind us here, Crossroads, that is moving forward. The site where the Civic Auditorium was, that will move forward. You look all the way out west, 192nd Dodge, huge projects out there.
Well, the cool thing is this is a podcast with an endless supply of new episodes.
There we go.
So we will continue talking about it, and you're welcome to come back on anytime you want.
You need to invite me again.
Well, we'll have you over to our new studio so we can have some air conditioning.
Could my long-lost sisters, Jan and Joan, show up sometime?
Speaking of that, I'm glad you brought up Joan and Jan Stother. So, so Joe Kinney here is with us.
I thought they moved out of Omaha.
No, Joe, we actually put together a special gift for you. And I want to butter you up before this last question I'm going to ask you. So, so Joe, if you want to grab this special gift, and it's a 2-part gift.
Okay.
All right. So
is this from my sisters?
Well,
you?
Well, this first one is from the Omaha podcast, from Two Brothers Creative and 316 Strategy Group, Joseph Kinney, Christopher Slater, myself.
Nice.
And of course, Wendy did some. I think she put the little "You're the sweetest" card on the front there.
Oh, your wife is the sweetest, so thank her for that.
I think you're gonna like this, though.
I know I'll like it. I can't be messy. The Omaha podcast. Get stuff done, right? I like this. This will be on my desk.
I want to see pictures of it.
This is the best. I will get a picture of this. This is great. I love it. Thank you.
A card for you in there.
Thank you very much. That is great.
This next gift here.
Oh, this is Omaha's greatest mayor. Now this I like a lot. Thank you. That'll be on my desk too. I have to remind people about this.
So before I give you this gift is from your sisters, Jonah and Jan Stother.
Oh, bless them.
I wouldn't be, I wouldn't be able to call myself a media personality if I didn't ask. Is it governor, senator? What's the next move for the mayor?
I don't know. I honestly don't know. I really love what I'm doing now. I've only been in 1 year of this term here. I usually wait midterm to decide. I'm not ruling anything out at this point. I'm really not. I love what I do. I mean, it would be very unusual to have a 4-term mayor because it's unusual to have a 3-term mayor, but I do love what I do. So I'm not saying yet. I don't know. I really honestly don't know because I want to concentrate on
well, there's a lot of big projects you have right now that are ongoing that require your attention.
And I'm busy with all of them, and I want to see them through.
Well, you just text me,
will.
like you used to do when the TV was on, was on 12:15 in the morning. Yeah. You get a text message.
And I would say, "What in the world are you doing?"
So this one here, you can open this now because it's a nice little special card.
Oh, this is nice.
And I think
looks like your wife Wendy had something to do with this.
Yeah, so she is a crafting aficionado.
I can tell that.
Yeah, so she makes these handmade cards.
Happily ever after. This is from me and my husband. Congrats on your legitimate marriage. With love from your illegitimate sisters. Look at them. There they are. Oh, I miss both of them very much.
And I don't know who that
I was going to say, with the bikini on?
I think she was a poll worker.
Is she one of my sisters too?
No, I think she was.
I was just these two.
It was the Working the Polls episode.
I thought maybe there were triplets here or something like that.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. I really appreciate it.
Well, thank you. So frame that, hang it up, and the memories last forever.
I certainly will. Thank you.
All right. Thanks a lot.
Yeah, you bet. Good to see you.
Good to see you, Mayor Stother. On the next episode of the Omaha podcast, we're going to reveal the playbook on how to do what you love for a living.